Hi, my name's Rob Greenbaum, and you just heard from 3 experts, topic experts. I'm not an expert. I write papers, and you learn how to write papers. My class is pretty straightforward. This is the policy management capstone, policy management paper capstone, and you write a paper. And so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the structure of the class rather than what the class is, because you all understand what a paper is. So again, the objective is to synthesize and apply the knowledge that you've learned in the program. And so the main deliverables of the class ultimately is a final capstone paper. But I don't just set you off and say write a paper and come back 15 weeks later and present it, because that wouldn't work very well. So the way the class is structured is that we write paper sections. And actually the lectures are great lectures. The first few weeks we talk about writing an introduction and literature review. And then we talk about methods and data. And then we talk about how to write up results and conclusions. The most scintillating lectures you'll ever hear. But actually, it's sort of a group discussion. There's no one right way of doing things. And I'm really there to help you write your paper. And as you write the sections, you write at least 2 drafts of each section of the paper. I break the class up into groups. I try to, it's not doing group work, but you work in groups. So I try to group my students into groups based on either common topic areas or based on common methods. And the first draft of the papers, your group mates provide feedback on that first draft. I provide feedback on that second draft. And then that third draft is that draft that's going in the final capstone paper. And so you get feedback from your group mates, you get feedback from me. I also require you to turn in a document that you keep updating about how you respond to that feedback. So just because I give you feedback doesn't mean you have to take my advice, but you have to address my advice, right? And if you don't take my advice, I want you to tell me why you disregarded my advice, and that's fine. And so we'll have discussions about ways of doing things, and that's perfectly fine. So you write your introduction, literature review, you start on your data and methods. The midterm assessments, that exam halfway through the semester, is really sort of at the proposal stage. So you've done everything. You've identified your stakeholders. You've identified the problem. You've done everything but your analysis, right? So it's just another draft of the paper. Shortly after that, hopefully you'll have some results. You'll present your results, and you'll turn in that final capstone paper. Okay. So one of the most difficult parts of the class is to come up with a topic. Right? And it can be a policy topic, it can be a management topic. People have written on anything you could possibly think of. And if you're thinking about taking this class, you should already have a topic in the back of your mind. You should probably have a couple of topics in the back of your mind. This is a class where having a backup plan is essential. You should always think through, well, if this doesn't work out, what can I do so I can graduate? So always having a kind of a data backup plan, or if something doesn't quite work. And come talk to me about your topic. Or if there's something that you're really interested in, but you don't know where in the world to get data. I talk to a lot of external clients, so there may be some clients out there that you might not be aware of that would love to have a student come help you analyze some data for them. Okay? So have a topic. Even before you come talk to me, read up on that topic. Read some of the literature. Look at the types of questions people have been asking. Your topic might be great, but maybe it was answered 20 years ago and there's nothing else interesting to learn about that topic. Or maybe nobody's addressed that topic. There might be a reason why nobody's addressed that topic. It may be really too difficult to easily address. But look at what data and methods people have used in their papers, and think about what interests you. You're not going to have to live with this for 2 years. You have to live with this for about 4 months. But it still has to carry you through 4 months. It'll be good if you're still interested in it at the end of the semester when you're presenting it. Data is essential. You can collect your own data. If you're doing qualitative analysis, that's great. If you don't like numbers, you don't like quantitative analysis, I'll tell you doing quantitative analysis with secondary data is a lot easier than collecting your own data. But all that means is if you collect your own data, you need to get started earlier to make sure you have your data in hand. Okay? If data just don't exist or it's not going to be practical, return to step 1. That's why having a backup plan is really important. If you do have data, then start thinking about, OK, I've got this topic, I've got some data, and start thinking about, well, what is a researchable question that I can address in one semester? Semester feels like it lasts a long time. It goes by really fast. So you need to have something that's doable. So you might have a really big topic. One of the first things we'll do in the first couple of weeks of the class is talk about taking just a little piece of that topic that's researchable that you can write a paper about. And then started on that introduction and literature review. The more you can get done before the semester starts, the better off you'll be. And what we do through the semester, I'm not saying you have to write your papers before the semester starts, but getting a jump on this will make your semester go smoothly. Okay? IRB. If you are doing data that at all involves human subjects and you think you might want to publish your paper someday, this is something you need to come talk to me about because we should go through the IRB process. If you're going to be using human subjects, but you're only going to be doing this as part of the requirement for the class, you don't have to worry about the IRB. So you can mess up people's lives. No, you can't. But this is an issue if you want to use the results of your research outside of the class. Okay, so if that's an issue at all, make sure you come to me because it's a lengthy process and you need to get started on that sooner rather than later. Okay, so this is a class where we set the class limit at 0, and so you have to get prior approval to get into the class. And the main reason we do this is just to make sure that you have a topic that's doable within the time frame. Okay, and so what I want is for you to send me a short proposal. It only needs to be about a page. By December 1st, I just checked, it's a Friday, so it works out well. We usually try to have that about 6 weeks before the class starts. Just what the bigger topic area is, what some of the research questions you've been thinking about might be, some specific data sources. The more specific you can be beyond just is it available, but actually knowing that you can get your hands on it is kind of an important step. And then a preliminary reading list. So this could be a topic that you've worked on in your 60/40 class. Maybe you already have that reading list and you've done everything except get the data. This is an opportunity to get the data and actually do the analysis. Okay. So really, the hardest part of this class for students is really not the end, but the beginning. Is really taking that topic and figuring out what can be done in the course of a semester and what analysis can I do. And so we spend the first few weeks narrowing your topic and coming up with that researchable hypothesis. And you'd be amazed at how helpful your group mates will be in terms of, hopefully if there are a couple of people that are working on something similar in terms of pointing out literature to you that you might not have been aware of and providing that feedback to you. So within the classes, I actually literally do lecture on the different parts of the paper. I spend, earlier in the semester, I lecture more. Later in the semester, it's more time for you to be working on your papers. But we split up the classes with lecture/discussion, and then we have time at the end of every class for you to meet with your groups and talk about your topics, and as the semester progresses, to provide feedback in person to one another. And I always go around and talk to all the groups too, because a lot of times providing in-person feedback is a lot more efficient than the written feedback. So it's an opportunity at least once a week for me to touch base with all of you about the progress you're making on your papers. So as I mentioned, my class, the cap is 0, and then you have to get prior approval. So the process is you send me that information. If it looks good, I forward it off to one of the advisors. They register you. If it still needs some more work, I'll say, well, have you thought about this? What about that? And it's a little bit of an iterative process. We can do it via email. I'm happy to meet with you in person. And so that's the process for my class. The other 2 classes, we're going to set a class limit that's a little bit below what the final limit will be. We don't want to make this completely first come, first serve. If you're considering, between all 4 of us, for example, encourage you to come talk to us and figure out what the right class is. So that's why we're setting a little bit lower cap so that people can get into the class that's really the right class for them.